everybody, it's Angel from Halo Inspirations. We give you inspirations to help you spread beauty and joy through your quilting journey. Happy Christmas Wednesday. Whoop whoop. Happy hump day to you also. So yes, it's Christmas Wednesday. It is the last Wednesday of the month. And here in October, wow, we're getting so close, right? So it is another Christmas Wednesday. Now everything behind me, that's basically most of the Christmas Wednesday stuff that we've made. There's two things missing. One of them is those wreaths we made, because I can't figure out how to hang it yet. So it's not up there. And the other type that I did in a blog, my daughter has it. So, and it's the same premise, but it looks different. So I'll have to find a picture for y'all. But the other thing that's missing are my Hexie ornaments. And the only thing I can think is that they're in the ornament box, you know, where you store all your Christmas stuff, ready to come out. But it's because it's only the end of October. I haven't dug out my Christmas ornaments yet. So I will definitely have something by the next Christmas Wednesday for you guys. But anyway, it is Christmas Wednesday. So what are we making? Okay, I'm going to tell you. I'm blending two videos that we've done. The first video that I'm blending is making the stockings. Okay, we're making a stocking and the hexagon ornament. So we're blending two videos together. So let me show you. This is what mine looks like. Super cute. I love this. Now, you don't have to do the exact same colorway. Of course, you can use your own fabrics. But I could have made this tree all green, right? Didn't have to put the white in there. I just felt like it. That was mine. But that's what we're making. We're making this adorable tree hexagon tree that we have appliqued basically onto our stocking. And I used the same method that I did in the last video. So this video is kind of like a little rushed. I don't give as many details per se, because I did a 2-hour video on how to make a stocking. Now there's a lot of other stuff besides how to make it, but we made 3 together in that video. So if you have any questions, definitely watch the stocking video. At least skip through it, try to find, what you're looking for. Or you can just let it. It's a great thing to just let while you're in your sewing room. If you just want noise, it's a great thing to play because it's 2 hours long. So you don't have to keep stopping and hit and play and finding something else to listen to. And when you're inquisitive, I don't know about y'all, but I'll do that. And then if I hear something, I'll look up. What are we doing? Oh, that's a good idea. And I'll make note of it. But other than that, if you've seen it already, you know what I'm talking about. It's lengthy, but it gives every single step to making this stocking and these 2 stockings. Every single step, including the sewing. Okay, so it's out there for you. I will tell you, this is my favorite template. And if you make stockings the same way I do, you'll end up finding your favorite template. This one is mine. So I went from this to this. Okay. And I will tell you what it takes to make this exact stocking. Well, yours is going to be different because you may have a different size stocking. So you have to keep that in mind. Or you may already have a template that you like to use. Like you can get pre-print out and tape them together and all kinds of stuff. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make it simple because I'm all about simple. So that's what I do. But what you will need, of course, these are 3/4 inch hexies. So it takes 11. That's it. 11 hexies. Okay. It requires this particular one. It's a fat quarter basically for the front, the red, a fat quarter for the back. This is a 7-inch wide cuff. It's not 7 now, but I started with a 7-inch wide. I can't remember exactly how long, but it'll tell you in the video. But it will depend on your own. Okay. And then I did a 1-sided liner. You could do 2, but I felt like 1 was just fine. And that used a fat quarter of Kona white. And then basically a fat quarter of batting. It's a little less, but it's a good place to start, right? And you'll have leftovers, but it's a good way to measure things. So basically, oh, and for the tree, to do 11 of these, really a 2.5 or 2 1/4 inch strip. If you do width of fabric, you might be able to get 20 hexies and you only need 11. So it just really depends on how you cut and how that works out for you. But those are 3/4 inch. And when we measure it, we measure the sides of the hexagons. So that's what you'll need if you're doing this on your own. Okay. And like I said, we have those 2 videos. I'll put them in the description box below. So there is more guidance both for the hexies and for the stocking tutorial. Now I will tell you this one in particular. My husband loves kits. He thinks they're the bomb.com. So we are supplying kits if you want to make this stocking. You'll have enough if you don't want to put the white and you just want all green. Here's what you're going to get, guys. Okay. You're actually going to get a 1/2 yard of the Kona white. And then the rest of the fabric is all from the same line. It's Christmas at Buttermilk Acres. And what you'll get is a 1/2 yard of the Vines brick, a 1/2 yard of the Snowflake green, a 1/2 yard of the Snowflake cream. Now what that'll get you, if you have a template that fits inside of a fat quarter, you supply your own batting, you supply your own ribbon for your hanging tie. The hexagons, I do forget to mention that, I'm going to give 100 pre-cut hexagons of 3/4 inch. So you can make other things with your leftovers if you want to do ornaments or such that will match. But giving you a 1/2 yard of each, if you only line it one time on one side, it will give you enough to do 2 stockings. Meaning one could be red with a green tree, or one could be green with a red tree. And you could also just use the white if you really wanted to have a white stocking or a full white. But you have to interchange which ones you're using for which, because it gives you enough for 2 stockings, period. Okay. And you'll have a lining for each of those. Again, you'll have to supply your own batting and your own ribbon and your own thread and, you know, all that fun stuff. But you'll get the hexies and you'll get basically 2 yards of fabric, okay, is what it boils down to be able to make this for you. Now, I'll talk about it more again. You're going to hear it repeated at the end. And then we'll talk about it on today for the live. If anybody has any questions, we can go there. But yeah, guys, okay, so I told you what you needed if you want to do this with your own fabric, because yeah, who doesn't? And then we're going to go ahead and get this started. And yeah, so I'll see you guys in just a sec. So here we are at my little table. And I'm going to take you from the get-go. Now, I'm going to rush it through a little bit because I do have other videos. I've done hexagons in a couple of different videos. But I don't want to, if you're familiar with it, or you've watched the other one, or, you know, you just need a little update, that's where this is coming from. But those other videos are great to watch. However, we're going to start here from scratch. So this here is a Fisker, I don't know what, a die cut. Okay, so you squeeze it and it cuts your paper. I will tell you this one is the large. Like I've said before, this is the large, and this is just a simple old index card. This one's kind of a big one. We can get several on here, but I'm just going to simply take my paper, and I don't want to be with this hole over here showing, so you want to make sure you're not like this if you've cut more than one. And then I'm just going to squeeze it, and we've got ourselves the perfect little hexagon. It's so super cute. It is 3/4 inch. We measure hexagons by their size. This is 3/4 inch, okay, across this one side. So that's how big these are. And it's important that you use something smaller than 1 inch, and you'll see why later. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my fabric. So I just have a 2.5-inch strip here. I actually did cut a 2-inch strip at one point. It didn't give me enough room to feel safe. 2 1/4 will work great, but I have a 2.5, so we're running with it, okay? And then I take, well, first, notice that this is the wrong side facing up, okay? And then I have my cute little hexagon. I'm going to put a little bit of glue. Now I'm using a glue pen, which you can also find in the shop. It's temporary. It will wash out, but it does the job to let me get it done. Now, when we do hexagons or quilting, any kind of piecing, we do like a 1/4 inch, right? Well, with my hexagons, I actually like a little bigger than a 1/4. Sometimes I still cut a 1/4 just because I'm not very good at guesstimating, but I do like a bigger than a 1/4 inch, like a 5/8 or so. So I'm lining up this straight edge along this straight edge, okay? And I'm just basically going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut what I hope is a little bigger than a 1/4 inch, but if it's not, it'll be at least a 1/4 inch. And then I'm just going to trim off all the other edges to be about the same. You don't have to be exact with this. I'm going to, well, that one looks a little bit bigger, so I'm just going to shave it down. Okay. Then we're just going to cut away. Now, see, a 2 1/4, you're going to have less waste. I'm not worried about waste at this point. I'm worried about making sure that I have enough of a seam allowance that I feel good about it. Okay. So there is our hexagon. I'm going to grab my little glue pen again. And when you glue, I'm going to start on a straight edge. Well, they're all straight. I don't know why you just said that. But I'm going to start on an edge. And when you do your glue, you're just going to want to simply go across. Now, I have not up, when I'm up on this side, on this part of the paper, I'm not on the actual fabric. I'm actually on the card, okay? So that when I fold this over, now notice I did close that pen. That'll dry out if you don't, so I close it every time. When you fold it over, the glue's going to get caught, okay? Now I like to push mine up and push down a little bit. I know my camera's shaking. That's because of where it's sitting. I'll have to figure that out sooner or later, but we're going to keep going. So we're just going to keep on going. So next one, I'm going to go across the fabric again, starting over here, across the paper. All right. And then I'm just going to push it up. And you're just going to keep going all the way around. Okay. I'm trying to watch the camera at the same time. I notice I'm shaking a lot, and shaking it a lot, and I apologize for that. All right, we're just going to keep on going. So when I start that glue, I start over here on this fabric. I go across the paper, okay, and I go on to the next fabric. That way it helps hold your corners down. There we go. I'm going to turn it. Now I push up because I find it easier. And I want that nice, clean, crisp edge with the paper. We're on the last one. So I'm just going to go across, hit a little bit in the middle. Whoops, brought it up a little. Okay. That was my fault. Nothing's perfect. Now, because of that, it won't stay flat. There we go. Okay. There we go. Now we have our paper surrounded by fabric. It'll come out, guys, I promise. But this is the basting stage. I used to do with thread, and you still can if that is your forte and you would prefer that. But this goes a lot faster, and I can sit in front of a television and just cut a piece of fabric and glue it onto the card. It makes it so easy. Okay. So this particular design is a Christmas tree, right? So you will need to have, for this particular motif, I think it's 11 hexies of 3 1/4. And I'm just laying them out so you can see. So it was 1 on this first row. Here, let me bring that down just a bit. 1 on the first row, 2 on the second row, 3 on the third row, and 4. Oh, I was going to say I was missing one. It was hiding underneath the fabric. All right. So 4 underneath. And this should, if you've watched the Christmas ornament one video that I did last year, I talked about a Christmas tree. And this is actually an off-white. It's kind of blinded out, but it does have a little dark snowflakes on it. Okay. Same line, but that is your Christmas tree. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull this out into rows. I'm actually going to sew these 2 together, these 3 together, these 4 together, and then I'll add the last one to it. So I'm going to right now sew these 2 together with you. Whenever you match your hexies, you know, the idea is that we use this paper and you should have a perfect edge that lines up with each other. Sometimes they don't. So you just want to try and pick the ones that are. If for whatever reason you didn't glue base great and something happened, just pick ones that your corners match. I'm going to use a green thread. Now I have several different kinds of greens, but nothing that matches this one. It's like a old army uniform green, if you're familiar with that. This one is going to be, I don't know how well you'll be able to tell, which is great, but it's just a little bit darker than the actual fabric. However, the light ones just did not look good. And the idea is that you really, really do want to match your threads as best as possible. I'm using the Aurifil 50 weight cotton thread. It's actually number 4026. I can't remember the exact name. It might be forest green or hunter green. But I'm really intrigued. A lot of people who do a lot of hexies, they use silk threads. And they get a really like a light beige or an eggshell color. And it matches it, and they get it really thin. Some do 80 weight to stitch with. Some do 60. This is 50, so it's a little thicker. But when they do those thinner threads, and they do it with silk, and they do that particular color, it goes with everything, and it stitches apparently like butter, and makes things a lot easier to hide your stitches. But I'm working with what I have. I have not tried the silk. It's on my list, but I haven't tried it yet. Okay. And to be real with you, you want a thin needle. The thinner, the better. I do have some milliner needles, but I don't like to thread them. So I'm going the easy way out, guys. And I'm going to do my best to hide my stitches. But this is just a self-threading needle from, it's either, I think it's Stritz. I don't know. It's on the website too. Self-threading needles. It's on the website. Okay. So I'm going to use, it's self-threading, so it makes life easy. It's a little thicker though, so it makes it a little harder to hide the stitches. But I'm okay with that, remember? So I'm just going to load up my thread here. It was that easy. That's why I love these. Okay. And I've cut about an 18-inch piece of thread. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a quilter's knot, which if you want to see this up close and personal, I have a video for that. Now it's a thinner thread, so I did a lot of loops, and we'll just pull it through. I don't know that worked. It sure didn't. Okay, there it was. There we go. And there we are. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start on a corner. And there is a fold of your fabric, okay? Now, some people will go up through this fold, up through the point. okay? And they get a nice little, you know, they're able to hide the knot. I am not one that's too picky about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in on my corner, and the idea is that you want to, I got to make sure I'm in the camera view, sorry. I know you can't see too up close and personal, but you want to go in on the corner and out on the next, and between the two fabrics, grab 2 threads. Usually, I'm not doing that right now, but usually, guys, I use a magnifier. I use my Halo Go to do this because you can see your threads amazingly, and you really do have the ability to capture just 2 threads. If you capture just one, you have the opportunity of it becoming pulled through eventually when you open it back up and you manipulate it, you might get a hole. I don't like holes, okay? So 2 threads is the magic number. So I'm pulling it through. What I'm hoping is 2 threads because I don't have my magnifying glass. It looks good to me. I'm going to pull it through and the knot's going to catch, okay? Now, that's a long tail. If I wanted to, I could snip them and make sure they're shorter. I'm not too stressed about it, but you may want to. I'm going to go back in and do another stitch, but this time, because this is my first stitch, I went in the exact same hole, guys, and I came out the exact same hole. I'm going to do what's called a knicker knot. Now, I have a really good up-close personal video that you can see that and exactly how to do this. It is not my knot. I learned it from Sue Daly, who is our world-renowned English paper piecing guru, okay? Genius. She's an absolute genius. And so I watched and learned from her, and I'm addicted. So it's a knot that's called the knicker knot. I love saying it, knicker knot. And it helps so that you don't get it where it comes undone. That's the bottom line. We don't want it to come undone. Now I'm going through twice on the corner because I go through twice on every corner to help get rid of any holes that may happen. So I'm going to take my threads and I'm going to do my knicker knot. Okay. There we go. Like I said, the knicker knot, you can look it up under Halo Inspirations. I have it there for you. I'm going to pull it through. And my knot is secure, and I don't worry about anything coming out. From this point forward, you want to go about 1/8 of an inch. Oh, I really wish I had my my magnifier. And you're just going to go back, all the way across, going in and coming out 1/8 of an inch across. Going in, grabbing 2 threads, okay? Now, notice I'm going from this side out, okay? So this is closest to me. That's my preference. Now, also notice I'm going left to right. A couple things I want to say. Some people like to stitch this way. If that is your preference, there's nothing wrong with that. I just feel like I can't see back there, so I don't do so well. So I like to come from this direction. That's the first thing I wanted to mention. So we're going to keep going here. I've already forgotten what the other thing was. Two threads, guys. 2 threads. We're going to pull it through 1/8 of an inch across. If I remember what the second thing is, I'll let you know. All right. Ooh, that's more than 2 threads. I can see it from here. All right. If you catch more than 2 threads, what will happen is your stitches will show more. Say that fast 5 times. Okay. So I'm going to pull it through. And across the 3/4 inch, it depends. I mean, I'm not measuring exact, right? So it's like 12 to 15 stitches for me. And that's my 1/8 of an inch separation. That might not be a real 1/8 of an inch. Remember, my guesstimation is not so great. All right. Now, what Also, what you want to make sure of when you do this, that you don't catch the paper. So, you know, trying to grab 2 threads makes it nice because you're not catching the paper. We're not sewing into the paper. We're using the threads of the fabric to sew our hexagons together. Okay? If it's really hard to push through, then you know you have hit the paper. Okay? A few more stitches. I wish I was faster, guys, but without a magnifier, I'm really, really slow. And I have no idea how much I'm getting, really. Okay, but once we're done with this, this will be the first row. I'm going to end it with the knicker knot again. And I'll talk it through this next time. But I still encourage you to watch that knicker knot video. It is a fantabulous knot for English paper piecing. All right, what is happening? I'm coming to the end. I want my corners to line up. So where that fabric overlaps and forms that point, I'm going to go in there. Of course, I'm just trying to grab a couple of threads, and I want to come out at the other side where the 2 fabrics meet. Okay. I go ahead, it's just I'm just a creature of habit. I just go ahead and pull it through and go back in where I went, and I do it again. It's really easy a second time. With this piece of thread that's near the fabric, you go under and to the left. With the tail and the other fabric, you go under and to the right, and then you pull through. And that seals the deal. Whoop. Might help if I wasn't caught. There we go. All right. Then you can simply snip your threads and you're done. Boom. Not too shabby, I gotta say. Not too shabby. Okay. So that's the first row. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with the next 3 rows. Okay. They'll lay flatter, I promise. So we're just going to go through. I'm going to do these. I'm going to sew those 3 together. I'm going to sew these 4 together. And then when I come back, I'm going to add this one, this top one, to these 2. Because if you are new, I don't want you to be worried when you have to do certain steps when you're doing English paper piecing. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch these off camera, and I'll see you in just a sec. Coming back at you here. I've got the 4th row done. I've got the 3rd row done. I've got the 2nd row done, and I've started to put this top one on. I'm going to explain that in just a second. I do have my little note on what I forgot earlier, so I'm going to share that here too. So I'm still connected because what I've done is I've attached the top one to this side. Now remember, I like to go from left to right. And look, I wrote, oh, you can't even see, but I wrote myself a little note. That was the other thing I forgot. I'm right-handed, okay? So I sew these from left to right. I have done it from right to left, and it don't look right, guys. My stitches are all wonky. This is when I was first learning how to English paper piece. It was terrible. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. And it was because I was going right to left. It just, for some reason, doesn't work as well. So right-handed usually go from right to left, and left-handed usually go from left to right. Just a little thing I wanted to share. Okay, so I've attached this first one. I put it right sides together. Okay. And I've sewn, I've done my little knot. It's kind of a big knot. And I've gone all the way across, and I'm about to hit the corner. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my little place where those corners are. I'm going to try to get 2 threads. Okay. I'm going to pull it through. Now remember, I like to do my corners 2 times. Okay. I like to seal the deal. We open this back up. Now it looks kind of catawonkus, but it's going to work out. Okay. So we've sewn it right to left if you're right-handed. If you're left-handed, I'd start with this one. I'm opening it up. Okay. This is how it is. And I want to sew this stitch together now, right? So I'm going to put those right sides together. And I'm going to line up the corners. Now look, guys, I'm folding this other side, and it is okay. You're going to have to do that, and that's the beautiful thing behind paper, is it will allow you to fold it, and that's what I wanted to share with you. So now I'm going to go back into that corner. Supposed to be 2 threads. All right. And I go through my corners twice. Okay. And I'm just simply going to stitch all the way across to the other side. Now notice I did, in between those, I did not knot it off. I just flipped it and turned it and kept on stitching. And I'm going to show you something here in a second. Let me just get through this. 2 threads. Some of these look like bigger than 2. It's going to be interesting. All right. And I will tell you, my 1/8 of an inch is probably not an 1/8 of an inch. And I will also say, when I very first started, I tended to sew really close together. And I had a lot of stitches. And the only thing that's bad about that is if you're new and your stitches are showing, you're going to have a lot of stitches that are going to be showing. So it's good if you can spread them out just a little bit. And I've gotten better as I've done a lot of hexie sewing. But every blue moon, I'll notice that I get too close. I don't know what it is, but I tend to want to sew really, really close together. All right. And you don't have to sew as close as you think. All right. So now I'm at the corner. I want to make sure it's matching up. It's got to get in the hole. Remember, I do my corners twice. So the first time I just put it through. Second time I'm going to end with my knicker knocker knot. Pull that through and cut threads. All right, now what I wanted to show you, here we go. Boom. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Okay. The reason why we're doing that, look, let me show you. Okay, these line up gorgeous, don't they? Yeah. But when we go to just flip them, they're not so pretty. So that's why we really do have to sew this particular seam together. Okay. So you'll flip these right sides together and look how catty-wonkus that looks. Once those are together, we want to stitch the other one. So we will have to bend to get that to go. Okay, so you're going to have some folding going on. And I want you to understand that it's going to be okay. So I'm going to finish this up while off camera so we can go to the next step. Okay. And I'm actually going to go ahead and just take these 3 and I'm going to start. Now it's always good. You lay it down. Okay. And I want this stitch to go together, these two seams. So that's how I'm going to flip it. And I will go right to left because I'm right-handed. Once those are together, then I'll sew these ones together, these two. Once those are together, I'll sew these two together. Once those are together, I'll sew these two together, okay? And I'll do the same thing with this one. I'll add all of this to this, and look, this is a different color. So I want to hide stitches, right? I'm actually contemplating, because they're very different. They're very, there's a huge contrast between these two. I'm actually thinking of using a beige color. If I do show inside my green, I think I'll be better off with a beige showing on the green instead of a dark green showing on the off-white. So we'll see when I'm all done, because then we'll go to the next step. So I'm going to get my little Christmas tree all sewn together, and I'll see you guys in just a sec. Coming back at you face to face here a little bit, because I want to share with you something. You know, I used the self-threading needle, okay? And I've never had this happen, but you know, there's always a tool, and when people tell you there's a tool for it and it works better, can you do it with the self-threading needle? Yes, but let me show you what happened. And as I kept stitching, I kept seeing it. So if you can notice here, there are some lines, okay? That's where my fabric started to run, okay? And it's several places. And I was noticing as I was stitching, I was like, really? What is going on? And I noticed when I was coming through on the back side that I, in fact, created the run in the fabric. Never had that happen. However, I can't finish this appropriately for you guys without doing it right. So I went ahead and did another one. And, okay, I used a milliner needle. And you can actually see the difference, okay? This one is thicker. This is my self-threading needle. And this one's much thinner. Now the hole is skinny, and I told y'all I don't like to thread this, but using the Halo Go magnifier really helped a lot. So I was able to get it done. And I don't know what size milliner needle. Goodness. I have a set that has various different sizes, 16 needles. It's 3 to 9, and I'm not sure which one this is. I have no earthly idea. But let me show you the difference before we move on. Put these up here. Okay, so this is the one with the runs in it, okay? And this is the one, look guys. And to be honest with you, the stitches actually are very nice. I wish I would have realized how big of a difference it was. But it is. It's a big, huge difference. No runs. And the stitches are actually very, very pretty. Okay. Milliner needle, good grief, is definitely the way to go. Now, as you can see here, I have it sitting on a stocking. So remember, I combined two videos. I'm just going to run through how I got this. It's actually quilted, okay? I just did a simple crosshatch just to make life a little easy because it's not supposed to be hard. This is the easy button where we finish this. Now, I'll run through that in just a second, but the last thing that I wanted to share with you is pulling out these papers. Now, normally I use a pair of tweezers, but as you can see, I don't know what I did with them. And I left one in. You know, because I'm not using this, I probably should have left all of the paper in, but it's okay. Life goes on. And usually, like I said, I use a pair of tweezers because I can grab them much easier. But it's very simple to just, the glue is a temporary glue, so it's very easy to pull away from the paper. I grab it with my tweezers instead of folding back too much on the paper, but look, it just comes right out, okay? And then I put all my folds down and I give it a press, okay? So all the paper is out of this one because that's the one I'm going to use, and it will lay flat, okay? As you can see, it looks very, very nice. Now I have it pinned here but I'm actually going to glue baste it. You don't have to do that. But that's what I'm going to do. So let me show you for just a second how I did this. So I'm going to take away the camera and get set up, and I'll see you in just a sec. This is just a simple, quick run through. That video breaks it down in 3 different stockings that I made with you. But just a quick run through on how I did this. I took my stocking, I folded the cuff up. This is a piece of batting, okay? And I simply traced around the stocking. I did not do all the cuff. I just traced along the entire rest of the stocking. Once I had that done, you'll have a line, right? And then I basted about a 1/4 inch, I think, all the way around. Just put any kind of stitch so I could see. I then took my topper fabric, okay, and I laid it on top. And because I did this a little different, I actually cut close to the basting stitch so I would have an idea exactly how much was needing to be quilted. I simply did a crosshatch. Now you can free motion quilt, you can do, you know, straight lines, you can do wavy lines, you can do whatever you want to make sure that it seals the deal. But that I did a simple crosshatch. And then once I had it quilted, I actually cut right next to the basting edge. Now I know that you cannot see that it's basted, but if I flip it over, and I'm going to tell you, I usually, let me turn the light down. I usually trace with a, what is this called? Air and water soluble disappearing ink. Okay, you can find these in the shop. They are made by Dritz. All right, but I used a Sharpie. I'm going to flip it over so you can see this. You can see the Sharpie. Now this is my tracing line. Okay, this is how I traced it. My basting line is out here, and then once I got it quilted, I actually cut as closer to the basting line. Now all that is going to be in the seam. So on the front side, you're not going to see this basting stitch, okay? It worked awesome. Okay, so now what we're going to talk about is how I'm going to do this. Now we do have the 1/4 inch underneath, right? So very simply, I'm not very good at top stitching, but I'm going to do it, guys. I would rather, personally, I would rather do a blanket stitch. However, I'm going to practice with you guys, and I'm going to go ahead and just 1/8 of an inch around. I'm just going to trace this. Now for the green, I'm actually going to do a smoky, what do we call this? Monofilament. Good grief. This is by Orifil. We do have this also, but it's smoky. It's darker. And I'll share with you here in just a second why. But I'm going to do 1/8 of an inch around the outside so I can capture the seam underneath and keep it on there, okay? But I'm going to use the smoky for the green, and then for the off-white, I'm going to use the clear. And I'll share with you the reason why I'm not using, oh, you can't hardly, well, you can see it a little bit, but I'm not going to use the clear and the dark color because I think it'll show more. It won't show here, but the smoky blends very, very nicely on top of the darker green. So I'm going to get this top stitch. Now I am going to glue this, and I brought my little ruler over. I kind of eyeballed how I was going to center this. However, I will share with you, this is 8 inches across. Okay, so half of it would be 4. And there will be a 3-inch cuff, okay, that goes on top. All right. So I had to think about, I actually took the fabric, and I'm just going to lay the batting on because it'll stand out more. And I measured out about 3 inches. Now this isn't going to be exact, but I just want to share with you. I took my cuff fabric, I laid it on top that 3 inches so I knew where in fact this was going to sit, okay? And how the rest of it would look. Okay. I wanted to get that visual for myself. Okay. Then what I did is, knowing this is, oh goodness, 8 inches. It's really bright today. Knowing this is 8 inches, I laid it out on the 8-inch mark, and I know that my top hexie will be along the 4-inch and my bottom hexie will be along that same line. And then I measured, you know, an estimate between the two sides. Okay, so it is like 1 inch and 3 ticks, which is 1 inch and 3/8 on both sides is where my hexies land. So I know this is centered. Okay, that's how I got that done. And as far as the visual up and down, I went with what I like. Okay, that's how I did it. But of course I put the cuff up here to see how that would translate. And I'm very just simply going to glue base this down with my Roxanne's glue base. You can just pin it. Just make sure when you pin it, I left this open just for a minute, goodness. When you pin it, don't pin where you're going to stitch. Okay, but I'm just going to simply give a little bit of glue in here and simply glue baste it down. So I'll get the glue basting done off camera and I'll get it stitched. And then we're going to go to the next step, guys. Isn't this so cute? I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Okay, so I will see you guys in just a sec. I started stitching and I realized some of you have never worked with monofilament thread. So I thought I'd talk about a couple of things. And it's working out pretty good, guys. I'm not even going to lie to you. Okay. I went ahead and started back here, just so you know. And I've gone around. I'm working on 1/8 of an inch. And it's actually a lot easier with these hexies than I realized. What I want to add, when you work with monofilament, don't try and wind a bobbin. The tension will be super crazy, super off. It doesn't work like that. In the bottom, I have actually loaded a dark green, just in case I have any pop-ups of the bottom thread. Now, if I had a whole bunch of eyes, like you could see the bottom thread on top a whole bunch, I would lower my tension top, okay? Because what that means is the top tension is pulling up the bottom thread. But I think I'm looking pretty good, okay? I did lower it once, but I don't think it made any difference, and I don't think I see any eyeballs, okay? So don't wind a bobbin. I usually use an arm instead of the spool holder for my 50 weight thread. However, I put my monofilament on the machine spool, okay? So it's loaded through my machine, on the machine, okay? So monofilament on the top, my 50 weight dark green is on the bottom, okay? And the thing that's really cool, I am doing the top stitch. I'm using, I normally, y'all know I use my walking foot, but I have 1/8 of an inch line on here. I think it's 1/8 of an inch. I like where it's at. That's all that matters. And I'm just going along, and I'll stop, like if there's a seam, I'll stop on the seam because I know that's where the point is. However, if there's not a seam, then when I see my needle is equal to the point, then I stop there, okay? So I'm just simply stitching along. And this one has a point, it doesn't have a seam. So my needle, I think, is equal to the point. Yep, it's pretty darn close. And then I just turn it, okay? And I go to, now this next one has a seam. So I will stop on the seam. I will turn again. And like I said, I have this line. I know you can't see it, but it's a little red line. And I'm lining up my seam, the outside of the hexie with that line. Now this one doesn't have a seam for me to stop, so I just want to make sure I'm equal. Lift my presser foot and turn. This one doesn't have a seam, so I'm going to the point. When I see my needles equal, go ahead and turn it. equal to the point. Go ahead and turn it. Now this one has a seam, so when I get to the seam, I'm going to stop and pivot. And I'll go all the way around, just like so, until I get back to the beginning, and I'll probably just do a back stitch, okay? Now, see, they're hard to see, guys. This is turning out beautiful. Now, what will I do when I'm going to cut threads when I'm done with the green. Now, if you want to, you can actually quilt inside here. You know, you could follow the lines and you know, quilt inside every hexie. I'm not going to do that. So when I want to do this one, I'm going to change my bottom thread, my bobbin, to an off-white color just in case it pokes through. And I'm going to use the see-through monofilament for this one. So I'll reload all the thread and I will go all the way around this one. Okay, just because of the way it sits. I mean, you don't have to. You can just simply, oh, I won't. No, I will. I'm going to go all the way around this one. It's up to you. But I thought I'd come in here and share with you a little bit of the stitching, especially with the monofilament, because please don't try and thread a bobbin. Now, I'm told you can buy pre-wound bobbins with monofilament. I've never done it, and so I don't know how that works, and if you have to adjust tension or anything. I don't know. I have no earthly idea. This is the way that I use it, and it works fantabulous. So I'm going to go ahead and get this off camera done, and I will see you in just a sec. So here we have, she's all sewn on. Now, what I don't think you can see is there's a little shadowing because this off-white was a little lighter than the red. So if I did this one again, I'd put a little piece of the same fabric underneath just so it wouldn't have the shadowing of the red fabric underneath. But it isn't that big of a deal, guys. It's not. Okay. So I've already done the next step. Okay. And what is this? What is this? Okay. Remember, I'm combining two videos. So if you want more detail on the instructions, it's a 2-hour video. You can just skim through it when you need to and whatnots. But basically what I've done is I've taken my backing fabric and a liner. There's a liner in there. And my topper, okay, that we had quilted and put the hexagon tree on, okay. I got all those together, and I basically took the topper with the batting and everything already quilted and attached and whatnots. I put it right on top of the liner first. Now the liner I'm using for this video is Kona White. And then and that was solid. There is no real right or wrong, right? But if you had a right or wrong, you'd want to make sure that your liner was facing down. And then when you put your backing, you'd put it underneath the liner and it would be also right side facing down. And then you would have your topper and you would have it right side facing up. Okay, so topper up, 2 layers underneath, right side facing towards the table. Okay, then I pinned them all together and I just basically cut them out with scissors. I followed along and cut along with scissors. Okay, and this is what I was left with. And they're still pin based because I wanted to share with you the next step. So I'm going to go ahead and unpin everything. Okay. This is going to be so stinking cute. I love this. All right. Whoop. There we go. Then I'm going to take the backing fabric off. Okay. Keep these lined up together. Does it have to be perfect? No, but you just want to make sure that when you start sewing them together, that you're going to catch it. Okay. So if it shifts a little, shift it back. All right. Then I'm going to take the background fabric with the right side facing towards the stocking. Okay. So these two are still together. I'm just taking that backing fabric putting it right sides facing down. So basically what we have are the right sides are facing together. And again, I'm going to pin baste. Do not pin where you're going to sew, because the next thing after I get it pinned so it won't shift, I'm going to start right here. I'm going to do a back stitch. Please back stitch. Then I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch all the way around, just following, which I'm not very good at, but it turns out nice. So 1/4 inch stitch all the way around. And when I come back here, I'll do another back stitch. Don't sew the top, okay? Don't sew that. So back stitch here, follow it around, 1/4 inch, back stitch here, and then I'll see you for the next step. We are getting there, guys. We are so getting there. Okay, so I went ahead and did my 1/4 inch. I trimmed up a little bit because my 1/4 inch is not great. But at any rate, before you add a ribbon, I'll talk about that in just a second. Before you add your hanging tie, measure with your ruler from seam to seam. Not the edges. I'm talking about the actual stitch seam. Measure those. Mine happens to be 7.5. Okay? Whatever yours is. Yours might be 10. Yours might be 8. Yours might be 6. Whatever yours is, you want to measure from stitch seam to stitch seam. Mine is 7.5. Okay, but the next step, I took a 9-inch piece of ribbon. I opened my seam here, and I just tacked it down about a 1/4 inch. It's a little hanging over, so it looks a little bigger, but it's about a 1/4 inch, okay? That way we'll have a hanging sleeve, and it's important that you lay it so that that raw edge is with the raw edge, and this is down, okay? Very important. So then, once you get that done, the next thing you're going to do is work on your cuff, okay? Let me turn down a light second. That's better. Okay, so I had 7.5 inches, right? So what you're going to do, whatever number you have for your cuff, for the length of your cuff, for the length of the fabric, you're going to want to cut a piece that is 2 times that number. So mine was 15, and then add a 1/2 inch. So I cut a 15.5 inch strip. How wide is it? I want it to end about 3 inches. Okay, 3 inches. So what I did was I cut 7. Now you say, Angel, that's a lot. We're going to be folding this in half. So I cut 7 inches. We're going to fold it in half, and then we're going to stitch along the edge a 1/2 inch. So half of 7 is 3.5. Take off that 1/2 inch at the top, and you get 3. So no matter what size you want, you double it and add 1/2 inch. Okay? So I wanted a 3-inch cuff. I cut this, though, 15.5 inches. I went ahead and sewed it right sides together at a 1/4 inch on the edge. And then I went ahead and pressed open. I'm fiddling with it, so now it's not getting that way. Now, if you have directional fabric, you're going to want to be careful which way you lay this. But I'm going to basically turn half of it out, get it all nice and pretty, laying flat, okay? Make sure my raw edges are good. Now I'm not going to be too fussy about it because it's gonna mess up again here in a second, and you'll see. All right, I make sure though that my seams are lined up together. I'm going to want my seam where the ribbon is. Now, what I forgot to mention, when you put your ribbon on, you want it on the heel side because that's the way we hang our stockings. So make sure you put it on the side of the heel of the boot, okay? Then you're going to take your cuff and you're going to slip it on the outside. And basically, we're going to bring our raw edges together. Now, I'm going to have to pin this, and I'll make sure to do that off camera. But you want all your raw edges together. Now, when you go to sew this, and like I said, you can check out that video for more detail. but you're going to want to separate your backing and your top, okay? And then you get all of your raw edges lined up. I'm going to pin mine so it doesn't shift. Get them all lined up, get them all pinned, and then I'm just going to stitch a 1/2 inch all the way around, give it a back stitch, and then I'll come back at you for the next step. So I'll see you in just a sec. Okay, the moment of truth. Listen, guys. I had my husband come down, take that quilt down, and help me take it down so I could put all that stuff up, which I talk about at the beginning. But I haven't seen my own stocking yet, and I'm really kind of excited. So I got the cuff sewn, just like I talked about. And of course, you want to make sure that your little tie is still poking out so you don't sew, but where you need to, okay? And all you're going to do is turn it right side out. Now, you can clip you put little snips when it's inside out to make sure that it comes out on the rounds if it doesn't lay flat for you. But I didn't find it necessary. I didn't find it necessary last time I made this stocking, and I'm not finding it necessary now, at least I think. If I felt like I need to, I can just turn it right back the way it was and then make little snips all the way around. Oh, this is so cute, guys. Okay. Now, I told my husband, I haven't even seen this myself. I wanted to do this with you. Now, there's only one thing I would change when I make another one. So far, we're going to find out here in just a sec if there's anything else. Now, at this point, you could press it, okay? But I wanted to open this with you. So, this is absolutely adorable, isn't it? Hello. This is so stinking cute. Now, if you're an embroiderer, you can embroider somebody's name on here, right? And if I did it, you might match the green. You might match the red. I think I'd match the red, but you have a green ribbon, so maybe green would be really cool. But yeah, is that not so stinking cute? Now, what would I change? Like I said, I'd put a little bit of fabric. I'd just glue it, guys. Just glue it in there right underneath this hexie so that it doesn't have the shadow. That's the only change. I actually like the position. I love this. Isn't that just adorable? Now it gets to go on the Christmas wall. Yay! Got a little bit more to round out. I can tell by looking in the camera with you. But oh my gosh, super cute, super loving it. Now it does need a little bit of a press to make it lay the way it should, right? But yes, there you have it. We took the hexagons, the ornaments that we made, I think it was a couple years ago, and our stocking that we did, I think it was last year. I can't remember which years are which. And we just combined them. Now I've got a little certain surprise for those of you who are in Creative Kingdom. I'm gonna do it with you. Hopefully this Saturday coming up. Oh nope, it won't be this Saturday coming up. It'll be 2 Saturdays. But I will also tell you, I'll share on the blog. I've got another something with this concept. Okay, and I think every one of you who enjoy EPP are really going to enjoy this project. But it's a little bit more labor intensive, so I need a little bit more time. And of course, I'll take lots of pictures and I'll do a blog and I'll make it fairly easy to follow, right? It's easier when you have pictures and you have words, and yeah, we're going to get all that done. But this was this Christmas Wednesday. Super cute. Love this. I hope you do. And don't forget, we have kits. And again, the kits will allow you to have the green Christmas tree with you could do also the same color. You don't have to do the white. There's enough for that. With the red background, it'll give you the liner and it'll give you the cuff. You'll have to supply your own batting, your own thread, and your own ribbon to hang. Okay, your own hanger. but it gives you all the fabric, but it'll also give you enough fabric, again, to reverse this. So you'll have a red tree with a green background, still the same cuff, and another, it's only a one side lining. And there should be enough fabric as long as your stocking will fit inside the amount, which is a ½ yard times 2. I mean, it's still a ½ yard, but you cut it in half. So it's kind of like a fat quarter, okay? So you'll get 2 of those. And this stocking is big enough for that with leftovers. So that will enable you to make some ornaments that could match, or make some wreath ornaments out of your Hexies. You'll have enough fabric left over to do whatever it is that you want. But as far as the lining goes, if you use both sides of that ½ yard, you'll only be able to do one stocking for lining. So I only did the one side with lining, so that's what we supplied. But it's all there for you. Again, one stocking with red background, enough for both sides, with a green tree, a white Hexie or off-white, and a cuff, okay? And then you can flip it. There's enough fabric to do a green stocking with a red tree, cuff, lining, Hexies. Cool? And extra, so you can make ornaments too. So check that out. It'll be under the What's New tab and under the Christmas tab and other kits, because it will be kitted. If you're interested in making this adorable stocking. Now, I do encourage you to watch that video on how exactly I made these stockings and not just run through it real fast, unless you're good with the instructions. I encourage you to watch that, and I encourage you to watch the Hexie Christmas ornaments. Both those links are down below to make it really easy for you to find, and they're also under the playlist of Christmas inspirations, which you can find all of this underneath that. So I will be on live today at 3 p.m. as usual. Hope to see you all there. Yep. 3 p.m. Eastern time, because I'm here in Virginia. So hope to see you there. Thank you all for stopping by for this Christmas Wednesday. Merry Christmas to each of you. And until next time, until next week, which is a Cherub Chit Chat. Don't forget to send your pics. So until next week, guys, or until 3 p.m. today, Eastern time, may you continue to be inspired, productive, ever so joyful. Never stop believing, and never stop making your dreams in quilting come true. I love y'all. Happy quilting. Whoop, whoop. Happy Wednesday, and Merry Christmas.